Hello and welcome to another episode of the Best You interview series. It's Gary here again. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. And today I'm very happy to be joined by Sharon Rolph to discuss the work that she is currently engaged in around personal growth, preparing for your desired retirement lifestyle, and knowing yourself a bit better. Sharon retired from Boeing in 2016 and soon started bouncing off the walls trying to figure out how to be productive. And now she teaches newly retired singles to sparkle without torturing their friends and family. I love that introduction, and you'll hear a bit more about Sparkle as we go forward. For most of her life, Sharon felt invisible, and when retired, she wondered how she'd know if she was even being productive. And today, she's a motivating influencer at the ripe young age of 76 as an author, podcast guest, of course, and the Queen of Courage on Instagram. Her days now feel right since finding her spark. Potential has intrigued Sharon from a very young age, and she loves uniqueness. That's what she sees in people from her behavioral science perspective. She inspires curiosity and possibilities in everyone. Each person's uniqueness is precious to Sharon, and as an inspirational guide, she loves helping retirees awaken their courage, explore options, and ignite their greatness. Sharon, thank you very much for joining me today.
You for having me, Gary. I hope this is fun. I've had enough of the rough stuff today, so let's have fun.
I agree. I completely agree. So to get straight to the bouncing off the walls part from your bio there, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced immediately after retiring from Boeing, and how did you navigate those initial months, that initial time period?
Well, it was 3, 4 months into my retirement that, I had gotten my insurance and Medicare and all that stuff ironed out and, that paperwork. And I started, I don't like wasting things. And time is one of those things you can waste. There's so many distractions on social media, but I didn't know how I would know I was productive. There wasn't a boss to please. Nobody telling me what needed to be done. And I'm a single gal, so it's just me and myself. And nobody told me that I'm the boss of my life now in retirement. There there's nobody telling me when I have to get up, where I have to be anywhere.
Yeah.
And or there's certain criteria that needs to happen every day. I'm in charge of that. And in the retirement planning, that was never discussed. You now don't have that business card or title that you had when you were working. In fact, I a couple of years ago I did a PowerPoint thing on what's missing besides a paycheck. Well, your team is not there. Your title is gone. Your achievements are gone. Your sense of thriving and accomplishing something for that needs to be done. That's all gone. If you're anything like me, all I got for retirement planning was finances, and they preached that over the years quite effectively. But there is now a new term called holistic retirement planning, and it helps you, in fact, wrestle with those things. I'm looking for a form here that, yeah, oh, maybe that's it. Yeah. So if you can see this, there's positive emotions, engagement, the sense of being engaged with a team, that relationships, who do you go to lunch with, the meaning, what meaning did you have in your job, and it's gone. It's gone. And
Yeah.
your sense of accomplishment. So um, that's what I was wrestling with in the days after leaving Boeing, once I got my paperwork done.
How did you come to terms with that? It sounds like most of it was in some way a surprise to you, just in terms of like the complete disruption of your routine, of your network and everything that came with that. How did that manifest itself into what you did on a daily basis?
Well, like I say, I was bouncing off the wall, but luckily for me, I had started a transformation as a result of starting coaching class the week before I retired. And during that first weekend of class, they had us write our essence statement. Now, we had to go to class with a form already started or filled out as far as your values and your guiding principles and what I love to do and my hopes, fears, and dreams. Well, no, hopes, wishes, and goals. So we massaged that for over 2 days. That what's my uniqueness between things I love to do. Well, I don't know. This isn't something I love to do, but I love the smell of fresh mown grass.
Yeah.
Somebody else usually mows it, but I love the smell. Like I love to bake cookies. I love to feed the dogs biscuits on my walk, stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
So by the end of that weekend, we had crafted the beginnings of a essence statement, which I now call your intrinsic motivation or spark, because it's your invisible assets that are inside your skin, in your heart, your inner being. And nobody teaches us to grow the things that are inside, other than maybe your parents and you gotta be integrity. You gotta be responsible. Other than that, through our life's journey, nothing really is. Well, your pastor might help bring some sermons on things that are good for inside. That anyway. So as I became my turn, we were standing in a circle, and when it came my turn, I like lost my breath for a second and said, nobody's ever asked me to define my soul. It was a shock, that phrase of even how it felt. So here's what I read that day. I am precious jewel of wisdom. Every now and then that chokes me up. I am precious jewel of wisdom. I am colorful collaborator, motivator, and learner. I'm tranquil, authentic, and pure inspirer. I light fires. I want 10% of the boomers to learn that about themselves so that they can, it feels a little bit like heaven on earth, that you're living from your true, authentic self, and giving from that feels like the best thing. Contentment and satisfaction and fulfillment. You have a place to fit in, to matter, and to make a difference. So when I started bouncing off the wall, I had made a wall hanging, and I used to hang it behind me in my office here. And somebody suggested it wasn't all that professional. I guess I think it's kind of pretty, and I've had compliments on it. But one day I came over 3 different times to read that statement. And I gradually felt like when I lived from that, my uniqueness, my heart, my soul, every day felt right. I've now gone on, and there's starting to be people that correlate your essence and your spark and your DNA and your GPS all kind of being the same thing. I love it, because that's your authenticity, your true self.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of your spark, I know when we were getting to know each other a little bit off off recording here, Spark was certainly something that we had talked about quite a lot. And then in terms of that pivotal moment of, being prompted to articulate what this means to you in terms of your soul, it sounds like that was quite the transformative experience for you. How did you come out of that session? What was your first series of thoughts and feelings coming out of that moment?
Well, it was amazing. I felt in the bottom of my stomach where my invisible feeling was. That's where I felt this new sensation of marvelous, amazing new truth. Um, I probably chewed on that for a couple of weeks before even before started my wall hanging, I think. But to let that settle in, it's like your subconscious needs to chew on it a bit.
Yeah.
And it probably took a couple of years for me to realize what I really wanted to accomplish is to impact boomers so they know the same thing. It doesn't seem like the rest of my classmates had such a profound moment as I did. Now, I did notice some of them were choking up even before it was my turn. Um, but I think it impacted me more because I've always believed in the potential people. I love to encourage them to be unique and bring out the best in people, including myself, was pretty special. I guess held special meaning for me.
Yeah.
And since there's 76 million boomers out there, I've got a big job to do. And I totally am ready to step up to the plate. And it's our world is in such need of healing. We
Yeah.
each can contribute to the healing of our world. And that's, to me, when you're living from your dream, your giftings, the world is waiting for you to add your flavor of healing to each other in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, mentioning earlier when I was introducing you, for much of your life you felt invisible. How has your life journey to date enabled you to step into the spotlight? Because, well, actually, not even step in, to jump in with both feet into the spotlight. And with that, what advice do you have for others of any age who continue to feel unseen?
Well, about the same time, just after I retired, I had participated in this profiler thing. And a couple weeks later, the results came back and it said something about me being an influencer. Are you sure you have the right person? I kind of like, oh well, they probably mixed me up with somebody, but I looked at it 2, 3 more times and I thought, well, I wonder what they mean, but maybe something that else contributed to that, uh, chewing on that and actually receiving that was that I lost my train of thought, but I had somebody call me from New York and said, well, we're doing a podcast that we are inviting you to be a part of, and just one event. And they charged me $1,500 to participate in there. Oh yeah, we see that you have vitality and something worth saying, and I had to pay for it. Well, that was baby steps. I didn't jump into that. I got curious, Gary, and said, what if there's some truth to that? And I was willing to take the next step. In fact, one of the little art blocks I make, I said, you'll know the next step once you take the first step.
Yes.
I don't think I have it here in hand, but I have some of my art blocks in my book. Here's a good one that applies to retirement. Have you forgotten who you are?
Yeah.
Well, when you don't have all these things that you left back at your job along with your paycheck, you're still that same person that
Yeah.
got an education, that was a dynamite trumpet player, that was a unstoppable debater. That's not gone.
Yeah.
That's your talent, your giftings. And like I mentioned, it's invisible assets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to be reminded that we've done some good. We've contributed already quite a bit to the world, and there's still more to give. You're not washed up.
Yeah. Yeah. So that accumulation of experiences you had both in the workplace and in retirement, was that the main inspiration behind the book?
Um, yeah, I actually went on to do audio only podcasts, about 26 of those. And then I partnered with a ladies group here in town to do audio and video. And I use their stories quite a bit to help us think outside the box.
Hmm.
My favorite story is a lady here in town that for a year or two, she started planning community service projects around the world for a year. She wound up feeding baby lions, working on a baboon sanctuary,
Wow.
teaching Chinese college students English, and baboons. Well, her last assignment, I think, was at a newspaper place, or yeah, newspaper place. And that's what got her into writing her book, Smiling at the World. But it was such a graphic example of stretching her heart. She felt like she needed to grow her heart.
Yeah.
And she volunteered places around the world. And that is often something people do after college. But she was 55, and she they started calling her mama because she would bake chocolate chip cookies for them. She loved it. In each location she went, it was like a month. And she's, came back being a grandma and loving life in a totally different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the catalyst for you to say, I would like to impart my knowledge to the world?
Well, to some degree, I used it to highlight several people that had been on my podcast,
Okay.
to help them think outside the box for what could be something for them. Now, more recently, I've created an ebook called "What Makes My Heart Sing," and I came up with 48 different ideas of that, stretching the box of something that you might want to try, and things as easy as singing to prisoners, or doing the gardening around a roundabout, making it pretty in your street area. But it could be as preposterous as touching the water in the 7 oceans,
Oh, wow.
or
Yeah.
following a monarch butterfly migration. I've heard of people doing that. So the whole idea is that I help spark something in your spirit that says, yeah, maybe I could do something like that. We put so many limitations on ourselves, and we forgot to dream because, life got monotonous. We had to, pay for the roof over our head and our college and our car and all this stuff that, what happened to our dream? Well, the fresh courage um, phrase came from a Hallmark movie that said, when you go home from vacation, you often go home with fresh courage. And I had kind of seen that in my job. I had more gumption to start tackling some things that had been going on too long.
Yeah.
And he finally says, okay, let's solve this and get it behind us. But Fresh Courage in Retirement, Finding Purpose, Essence, and Fulfillment is the name of my book. And it is on Amazon, but it's a do-it-yourself experience for you to come up with what might be a new purpose for you in retirement. And it does need to be something new, usually, because oftentimes our purposes are in in integrated with our job, or
Yeah.
it might be integrated with our growing our kids and so forth.
Mhm.
But the kids are grown up by now, and what will really be satisfying to your heart to actually build a legacy for making leaving the world a better place than you came in.
Yeah. Yeah, and that takes you to the wide world of Instagram and the Queen of Courage on Instagram. What could people expect to see from you on Instagram?
Well, first of all, they're just short little vignettes. I started out by holding up one of these art blocks that I made, and I probably made about 500 of them.
Yeah.
I started giving a few away, but I would say this is what this means to me. Like, I'll know the next step once I take the first step.
Yeah.
How often well, when you're on vacation, you also probably heard a little small voice talking to you, maybe while you're watching that bonfire, or while you're sitting on the cliff overlooking the ocean, and this little message comes to you, and oftentimes they're preposterous. They're, I couldn't do that. Well, um, if you took the first step, it might open up the next step, and you can see clearer as to what to do. They say you eat an elephant bite one bite at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've always felt like it was important to honor those messages. And like the being an influencer, I had no idea that that applied to me. But once you become curious and willing, um, a new life opens up for you. So my Queen of Courage are 2 to 5 minute little vignettes about encouraging you to be courageous. And another element that added to that happening in Instagram was there's a class of students in Brazil wanting to practice their English.
Yeah.
And I don't know how this instructor found me, but I said, well, yeah, I'd come on and talk a while. And the first time he said I could use any topic I wanted to. So I talked about retirement. And what I came up with was I covered courage to be, courage to have, and courage to do. And they said my talk easily became one of the most interesting instructor, presentation that they'd had. So they invited me back again.
Oh, great.
So how many different ways can you have courage to be or to do or to have? And lots of things about life need courage.
Yeah.
And I'm pushing you from behind to get with it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. So what would be some practical steps or exercises or things that you would recommend for people either approaching retirement or newly retired to kind of be productive, to be themselves, to have purpose, to have the courage so that they don't bounce off the walls and damage relationships or go kind of stir crazy.
Well, in May, I created a training course on how to make a marvelous transition into volunteering, because one of my guests, one of the last guests on my audio only program, I think they live up here near me 6 months out of the year. And she said somebody had told her the easiest way to transition from your job is to do what you did for charity. So she said, if you were a CPA, find an office, especially a nonprofit perhaps, that you could volunteer at, and until you found something else that you really wanted to do. But it helped make that transition a heck of a lot easier. And so I think she used the example, if you're a pilot, who needs people delivered or products delivered, supplies? And then so the program I created not only talked about, when you have when you're volunteering, it could turn into a job, it could turn into beefing up your resume, it could become reciprocal, and that happened for me last week. I loved it. And you're stretching and growing and being social all at the same time. Yeah. So last week, I've been delivering food bank groceries to a couple that are quite elderly, and I don't know if they even drove their car anymore, but here I always like, near the front door was the lavender plant, and I like to rub my hands across the lavender sticks, yeah. To smell them. And I was commenting to her about how much I like doing that, and she said, oh, come over here. I thought she was going to show me some more flowers, and that she wanted to send me home with some. No, she had 2 trees overflowing with plums and prunes. So she went to her garage and got me a small box to take plums and prunes home. Reciprocity. I share my vegetables and you share your fruit, kind of thing. Yeah. But my mom had taught me that when you bless somebody else, especially when it's a surprise, how they get blessed, but so do I. Yeah. It feels good. Yes, it does. So by the fact that you're volunteering helps you be social and learning and growing and doing for others, it just adds such a new dimension to life, because it's pretty much heart driven instead of brain driven, that. Yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic story. The benefits of just having a genuine conversation with a genuine person and seeing where it takes you. And if you can have that reciprocity that you talk about, whether it's material or, immaterial, is just the zest of life. It really is. I love it. So what keeps you motivated and driven in your mission to inspire and guide others every single day? Well, this potential, I really felt in my teens, both my potential as being kind of a mystery. And I remember having some dreams when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And it's like somehow in the dream, mom was going to offer one of us kids as a sacrifice. I don't know what that's about. I don't know, Mom. See what life's about. Well, potential still had that. I want to see what life's about. Yeah. And we all have potential, that whole growing, they used to say we're only using 3% of our brain or 10% or something. Well, there's some to grow with that percentage. But we often don't know what the best, like I used to ask my friends at the meetup group that I started, who are you when you're at your best? Yeah. Well, learning my spark, becoming aware of the best of me was just so dynamic that I wanted them to know who they are at their best. Yeah. But it just kind of like went right over their head. They
Yeah.
had no idea how to answer that. And to me, when you know who you really are,
Yeah.
it's a little bit like heaven on earth. It just feels so good. And I've collected a lot of stories over the years of people who've had near-death experiences. And they say that the beauty and the fragrances and the flavors and the water just is so, 100 times better than what we have here.
Yeah.
And I would kind of try to absorb what they saw
Yeah.
and ask myself, here's this curiosity again, um, what would change if I felt every every of the fragrance and beauty in every cell of my body? What would that change in life for me?
Yeah.
And that's what my spark actually feels like.
Yeah.
A little bit of the best is here. I'm living it.
Yeah, you have it right now. And it's so fascinating, once you have that opportunity to experience that and experience it on a consistent basis, that you're so motivated to share it with other people. One of the reasons that we are chatting today, and then you try to do that, and as you said earlier, it's just sometimes a bit of a miss. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they're missing if they've never really been looking for it. They have a different level of life that than other people, and that's okay. I did a post on LinkedIn recently about that, saying not everyone cares about what you care about, including themselves, and that's okay. But if we continue to show up and continue with the gifts that we have to serve and hopefully help people as we move forward, that's a gift in and of itself, for the people that we manage to interact with. This has been fantastic. Where can the listeners learn more about you and learn more about your work?
Okay, so I do have some of my Instagram and podcasts are on YouTube, and I'm starting to get myself back into a habit of posting on YouTube more often. I just have loaded up on a new platform, The Great Discovery, 5 uh, courses. One is my book. I started out with my book, and then What Makes Your Heart Sing is a recent one, just as of today. I have my volunteer course out there, and even how to make a marvelous transition into retirement, which is a free one. So you can go out there on The Great Discovery, look for my name, Sharon Rolph, or my course name, make a transition into retirement. And I actually give you 6 tips of what could trip you up in retirement and suggest some solutions to that. One of my podcast guests was a AERP past president, and he had a very nice organized tips for what you got from volunteering, and I turned that into my course on volunteering. And I added an element about the use of time. We don't often think about that, kind of like time management. But even if you're working a full-time job and had a family, there are ways to work into your schedule if it's important enough to you
Yeah,
to do volunteering too.
yeah, yeah. You live a very full and fruitful and prosperous life, and it's just incredible just to feel your energy through the words that you're saying today. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time to chat with me today. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope to get you on at some point in the future again.
Thank you. It's something that's niggling in my brain is that I have often said, even on my courage Instagram, is that I'm the one that decides what stops me.
Yes.
And a lot of people, any criticism or being made fun of or all that kind of thing stops you.
Yeah.
Well, when you're in your authentic skin, your true self, it's not up to those people out there. It's up to me. And I am considering changing something. I do right now for almost a year now. I've been doing a loneliness to resilience membership community, and I started out intending to charge a little bit for it, and then that didn't seem to work out, so I'm just doing it for free for now. But I'm starting to wonder if it's time to stop that, because there might be a better use of my time.
Yeah. So
And others are stepping up and contributing very nicely in place of me, perhaps.
fantastic. So that's a win-win. You get some time back, people get the opportunity to contribute, and that's the influence that you're having.
Yeah.
I love it. Excellent. Sharon, thank you very, very much again, and I hope to chat to you again soon.